Joining me now, the Executive Director of the Centre for Independent Studies, Tom Switzer. Well, he doesn't mince his words there, both in print and on camera. Do you think he's right to say that Albanese's made us irrelevant on the world stage, Tom?
Well, bear in mind, Peter, many nations around the world, including US allies, Japan, South Korea, have not given unqualified and unconditional support to these US strikes. I mean, they were unilateral, that is a fact. They didn't have a UN mandate, nor did they have US congressional authorisation. And many Americans, from left to right, Democrats and Republicans, are highly anxious that this could drag the United States once again into a forever war. So I don't think that Canberra's stance really damages Australian credibility or isolates us in the world, especially if, and it is still an if there is a ceasefire.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Do you think the Prime Minister should be at NATO rather than send his deputy?
Well, the Japanese and the South Korean leaders have pulled out of NATO. Not that they're part of NATO, nor is Australia. I mean, remember, Australia is one of many countries that are desperate to meet with the new president. Albo's not alone.
Do you think we should be there at the table? Because when he was stood up at the G7, that was certainly on the cards last week.
Yeah, you know, it's Donald Trump's only been in the White House for 5 months. And I think it's usually 6 months before a new president or a new prime minister meet for the first time. And I think the record was in early 1961 when Sir Robert Menzies met with President John F. Kennedy. And James Curran, the prominent diplomatic historian, highlights that Gough Whitlam was frozen out of the Nixon White House in 1973, and yet Nixon and Kissinger were supping with the Soviet dictator Brezhnev. So, you know, bear that in mind. It's important for the Australian Prime Minister to have a good relationship with the US President, and it's incumbent on Canberra to make that happen. After all, China, not Iran or Russia for that matter, remain the greater threat to Australia and the United States. So it's in Canberra's interest to make this happen, but I don't think we should get too worked up about it for now.
I think the problem, though, all those former Prime Ministers hadn't ventilated so publicly about incumbent presidents. I think part of the problem is our ambassador, our foreign minister and our Prime Minister have all been pretty negative about a bloke that's got a glass jaw and a lot of power.
Yeah, well, look, I think Donald Trump is a unique case, to be frank. I mean, he's an exceptional president in the sense that he's highly sensitive to criticism. Look, there's a danger here for the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, for that matter, to look like they're bending over backwards for Trump. But at the same time, I think there are appropriate channels underway for them to maintain a relationship. And remember, Australia is not alone here. You know, and as I say, the main game is not Iran. The main game is China and Asia. And it's incumbent on our leadership to have a close relationship with Washington to hedge against a rising China.
Particularly because Washington's more switched on to China as a threat than our mob appear to be. Let's go to this ceasefire, which looks in the last half an hour or so to be over. Earlier today, former US Army Major Mike Lyons was on Sky. He seemed pretty sceptical. Then it was a unilateral announcement by the US President that the ceasefire was there, yet then to be confirmed by Iran or Israel. But this is what he had to say about the President's announcement.
I think it's not, frankly, in Israel's best interest to stop anything right now. We don't know whether exactly the United States did eradicate the Iranian nuclear capability or not. So there's a lot of unknowns there.
Yeah, when I listened to his comments, I felt it was pretty premature to call the thing over until we've got confirmation that those 3 sites and others genuinely were taken out. Is that fair?
Well, preventive wars, history shows, are fraught with the danger of unintended consequences. But the thing about this Iranian strike, retaliatory strike against the US base in Qatar overnight, our time, is that it was pretty limited. No one was killed. There was no serious damage. And my sense is that this indicates if these attitudes prevail in Tehran, and we're still at the very early stages of this conflict, but to the extent those attitudes prevail in Tehran, that would indicate that Iran's mullahs are more bent on survival than martyrdom. And also, let's not forget, Iran has been seriously diminished since October 7. You know, the Shia crescent is really no more. Hezbollah's really been diminished in Lebanon. So too has the Shia militia in Syria. The Assad regime's gone in Syria. So Iran is really on the back foot. Is it really in Tehran's interests to provoke the Americans? And it would be the easiest thing in the world, getting back to your original point, Peter, to taunt and goad this president out of his sense of restraint. And who knows where we might end up. But my sense is that the mullahs in Tehran have a lot more to lose by being deliberately provocative in this environment.
Right, we'll leave it there. I'm suggesting it probably will change by the hour. Tom Switzer, thank you.